What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the fuck?
What's up? It's your boy Kevin on YouTube shit. Hey man, say man, we are Littness, man. Turn to motherfucking day. Show you outside. Big crib in the gang. Show you outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, rush your thing and takes a stand the fuck up. Each day is you know to be a better version of yourself. Never let somebody bring you down, I'll fight back. Never let somebody tell you are boss and put yourself in a position of alone. Let's stay humble, like your revolution on the movement. Keep your heart first. Coming to you black Hebrew Israelite as a real Jew. We out you. Alright. Boom. Today, to motherfucking day. Show you outside. Big crib in the gang. Show you outside shit, man. Gang, go. Turn. Alright, bruh. Y'all know the rap scene has been kind of crazy. You know, it's a whole civil war out here between the rap community. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, what we finna talk about, man, is the female rap. You know, we have the guys rap and the female rap. So, y'all know Sexyy Red, man. How do y'all feel about Sexyy Red, man? You know, do y'all feel like Sexyy Red career has been non-existent? Has she slowed down? You know what I'm saying? When she first popped on the scene, she was lit as hell. But people was talking shit. She done fell back. Now they still talking shit, but she ain't nowhere to be found. Y'all still think that she is an industry plant? We got so many industry plants in this industry. So let's get through it.
Blackie Speaks. Man, Sexyy Red, bro. What y'all feel about her, man? Y'all think she really have done nothing relevant in the past year?
Now, Sexyy Red, just over a year ago, was one of the most popular new female rappers in the entire industry. After receiving a massive marketing push, it really looked like she was unstoppable. But now, it seems like the Sexyy Red experiment might have failed. Or has it? Let's talk about it. Sexyy Red is a 27-year-old rapper from St. Louis, Missouri, who broke into the mainstream back in late 2023 after her song Pound Town went viral.
In a
After
major
the success
way.
of that record, she later secured a remix with Nicki Minaj. And that same year, Drake featured her on his album. From there, it looked like nothing could stop Sexyy Red. Her music was everywhere, she was trending nonstop. She became the new face of a certain kind of female rap energy, raw, unapologetic, and in your face. However, during her rise, we saw a lot of what I would call dysfunctional behavior. Something I actually dove into in my 30-minute documentary last year, The Dysfunction of Sexyy Red. Among many things, we had situations like the teacher incident. Back in November 2023, a young ballet teacher went viral after expressing frustration about her students singing along to one of Sexyy Red's most explicit songs, which was, of course,
she'll be
Pound
listening
Town.
to worse shit than that.
Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking, can we hear Pound Town?
A normal reaction, especially coming from a woman who works with children every single day and understands what it's like growing up as a young girl herself. Now, she was simply pointing out the negative influence that songs like that could have on young kids. But instead of reflecting on something which was pretty fair criticism, Sexyy Red brushed it off, replying, "Girl, shut the hell up and play my song." And that moment right there said a lot, because the dysfunction wasn't in just what she said. It was in her complete inability to recognize her music, while profitable, is also inappropriate for the children who idolize her. It was ridiculed, while Sexyy Red kept on climbing. Then there was the school visit. Just a few weeks after, Sexyy Red made headlines again, and that time it was after reportedly getting kicked out of a school in her hometown of St. Louis for smelling like marijuana. She later reacted in a very angry way after the school actually turned her away and essentially told her, hey, you can't be here because you smell like Mary J. And Sexyy Red was saying that she just wanted to speak to the kids.
So this school put me, I came up here, got you, trying to talk to the kids, getting the word of the day, they gonna put me off.
He said the word of the day.
Tell me I smell like weed, watch this. My job hard. Every day I'm fighting for my life. Every day.
It's a fact.
From this school, I'm coming back around.
And the question a lot of people had was, wait a second, why are you showing up to a school smelling like weed? Regardless of if you were invited or not. And that kind of thing definitely made it clear that Sexyy Red was very detached from basic accountability. Instead of leaving, she actually decided to turn up outside the school with a crowd of students.
St. Louis native, known for her raunchy lyrics, making national
Nigga
headlines
said
over a
raunchy
recent performance
lyrics.
outside of a rally that was for kids. Well, national recording artist Sexyy Red, whose name is Janae Wary, drawing criticism tonight over her behavior and performance after a student rally Wednesday at Chaffetz. The organization involved telling First Alert 4 tonight she was never even invited,
despite being told not to be on the property. Obviously, that's the kind of thing any regular person would have faced real consequences for, but when you're famous, rich, and poppin', consequences don't always apply. Now, this pattern actually continued because after this came the 4C hair comments. Now, in a clip posted to Instagram, Sexyy Red actually showed off her strained hair, and she mocked women with 4C hair. For anyone who doesn't know what 4C hair is, it's essentially the natural hair type that most black women have. And Sexyy Red, she posted this photo of herself and said, "You carpet hair beanie neck hoes could never." And then she obviously got backlash for this.
And I just hate the fact that we make fun of things that we cannot change. We cannot change hair texture. And it's sad because this is who's in the mainstream media talking like this. And a lot of people are growing up having her as a role model for whatever reason. And they're going to start seeing carpet hair. It's already a search on TikTok. It's carpet hair. The hair texture that you have does not determine how beautiful you are. What your face looks like really doesn't determine how beautiful you are. It's your aura. It's your personality that determines how beautiful you are.
And then when that backlash came, she responded in a very distasteful way. And she said, "I fuck with carpet hair, but would still call women that if they talked smack." Obviously not the smartest move because, you know, the majority of her fan base is actually made up of the same black women that she was shading. And also, it's like, you're a black woman yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
You have this hair type yourself naturally. And just because you strained that hair that one time, that doesn't really take away from the fact that you naturally have that hair type. You get what I'm saying? So that's the kind of thing that kind of comes across as like, you know what they call it, internalized hatred. And this is what made it very ironic because Sexyy Red's entire brand was always built on exaggerating the same negative stereotypes of black women.
You know, I hate to be like this,
but
man.
Then we also have the viral tape.
But I think black people be racist to their own black people.
Sexyy Red accidentally
posted
a private tape on her Instagram story. I'm sure
these hoes be racist and these niggas be racist to their own black people.
Private tape was, right?
Now, people said that you leaked your sex tape on purpose.
It was on Instagram.
But I mean, when people talking shit, you mean you pop back, you know?
Through the phone, and
it goes how it goes. You did.
She later claimed on an interview with the Breakfast Club
that Jim Crow
it wasn't
shit,
intentional, but anyone with a functioning brain can tell that it was. The timing, the context, the way it boosted her visibility all pointed to this being part of the marketing strategy. Because remember, her biggest song, Pound Town, literally revolves around her body and sexuality, okay? So when the world suddenly gets visual evidence connected to those lyrics, what do you think happens? A viral storm. And this kind of thing is part of building a brand identity in today's industry. Not just for Red, but for any artist trying to connect their image to a specific idea or aesthetic. It's very profitable and it works. In this case, we have shock, scandal, and controversy being the core of that identity. And in this situation, none of it was an accident.
How you think she got on with Drake, nigga?
This is how an artist gets branded, sold, and introduced to the public by the record labels. And like a lot of us know, the more extreme the image is, the more attention it draws. And the more attention it draws, the more money it makes for the people behind the scenes. But here's the most worrying part about all of this. A huge portion of her audience is made up of children, specifically young black girls who look up to her, imitate her, and see her as a representation of what confidence looks like. So when those same girls watch a public figure leak her own tape and then pretend it was an accident, it sends a dangerous message that attention is worth more than dignity. When it comes to being a public figure, no matter how you look at it, there is a level of responsibility that comes with that. With great power comes great responsibility. And it's not about being perfect 24/7 or operating like a role model every second of the day.
She did human shit, but you know,
how your actions land and who they actually speak
to. I don't think that she care about
now, Sexyy Red's case, I never expected that kind of responsibility from her. At least based on how she moved up until that point.
I mean, I think that she's dropping new music.
The industry knew that. They knew she wasn't going to filter herself or self-correct or think about the impact that her negative actions are having on people, the world, and the youth. And in a way,
Recreating a
that's what
lit
made her
ass
the
song is
perfect
kind of
candidate
crazy,
for
when
this
you
experiment. Because before
you
Sexyy
only
Red
got that
was
one song.
handpicked, and listen to what I just said here, okay? Handpicked to be elevated to the spotlight.
Yeah.
There's a very real process that happens behind the scenes. Personalities of this type
You
don't
think
just
industry
blow
plant?
up by accident. Their image, their behavior, all of it is observed, analyzed, and measured by the people who decide who gets pushed and who doesn't. And this explains something a lot of people have wondered about for years, which is, why do so many public figures suddenly explode in popularity, yet seem to completely lack a moral compass? Why do the most chaotic, reckless, or
Because them the ones they
controversial artists
sign, because they
get the
know that they
biggest
can
push?
control them.
That's not by accident. How it works is this. Labels, investors, and media companies collectively look for what's profitable, not what's healthy, uplifting, or balanced.
And
They look for
controllable.
personalities that can generate attention, even if that attention comes from dysfunction, because attention is currency. And someone who doesn't self-reflect or set boundaries is easier to brand, easier to manipulate, and easier to push into extreme directions. And during that evaluation process, a lot of questions get asked behind the scenes. Questions like, who can push the public's buttons the most? Who can trigger the strongest reactions? Who will go the furthest without questioning the impact? That's why I felt like Sexyy Red was being extra provocative during her blow-up period. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was very planned. It was orchestrated in a way that maximized shock, maximized virality, and maximized profit. And despite all that dysfunction, it seemed like she just kept going up. Every controversy, every viral moment, instead of things slowing down, it almost felt like it was fueling her career even more. And my theory has always been that there's of course a reason for that. See, I personally think that Sexyy Red was getting this push for one main reason: to promote a very specific image, a very negative one. Because in a world where media has always shaped how we view people, especially black people, Sexyy Red became a tool for the music industry to push a modern version of one of the oldest and most damaging stereotypes about black women. I'm talking about the Jezebel stereotype. Dating back to slavery, this stereotype painted black women as hypersexual, uncontrollable, and defined entirely by their bodies. It was a complete lie that was used to justify the exploitation and abuse of black women for generations.
Now we ain't saying telling you hoes not to throw that ass back,
just packaged with
but we
beats
just
and
telling
marketing.
you hoes stop
And
being
hip-hop has
fake.
always been an art form to empower
You know what I'm
black
saying?
voices. However, it
But
has
at the end of the day,
unfortunately hijacked to do the opposite. And Sexyy Red, whether she
they don't
realizes or
listen
not,
to that dollar.
became the face of that. Her entire brand, her lyrics, her visuals, and even the way she's promoted, it all fed into that same narrative. That the only way a black woman can be seen, celebrated, or go viral is by being sexualized, loud, and reckless. And Red eventually became very successful. She's undoubtedly generated a whole lot of money for the music industry. And for a while, the experiment worked. But now things are starting to shift. A lot of you guys might have noticed how Sexyy Red isn't being talked about nearly as much as before. And there's a few reasons for that. Now let's take it back. Take it way, way back to how it all started. Before Sexyy Red took off, she was discovered by a Miami-based label and management company called Rebel Music back in 2021. They came across some of her early songs and decided to sign her. Her A&R executive stated that, once she got off the plane and I heard her voice, I knew she was a star.
Confidence is not a
To mid-2023, the peak of her blow-up, and Gamma, a new media company, stepped in to handle her distribution. Now let's talk a little bit about Gamma, because this was the company behind her true rise. Now this company was founded by a Larry Jackson. Some of you guys in the music industry might know who this is. He actually spent 7 years as Apple Music's global creative director before leaving in 2022 to start Gamma, a company that claims to create, distribute, and market content focused on black culture. And according to Larry Jackson himself, that focus on black culture isn't just a slogan, it's the entire pitch. Because when Gamma was launched, it wasn't some small experimental startup. They actually came out the gate backed by $1 billion in financing. And the question is, where did they get that money from? We'll get to that in a second. And this money was apparently being put to work, particularly and acutely, on black culture. So $1 billion dedicated specifically to black culture. Interesting. Now, Larry Jackson is a very much recognized name in the music industry. Most people, whether it's managers, artists, or anyone else who actually works in the music industry, they most times they know who he is, right? Billboard even named Larry Jackson the R&B and hip-hop executive of the year. They described him as someone who's able to bring things to life, with artists like Travis Scott praising the way he moves. So he's been getting a lot of cosigns from a lot of very prominent artists as well. And one of the first big moves the company Gamma that he started made was facilitating a deal where TikTok's 1 billion plus users got exclusive access to the entire Death Row catalog, which included Snoop Dogg's classic Doggy Style album and the late Tupac's All Eyes on Me as well. Now right here, Larry Jackson demonstrated exactly the kind of pull he and his company Gamma actually has and what it's apparently built to do. Use massive capital, massive access, and massive cultural leverage to shape what the general public, but especially black audiences, consume and how they consume it. Now when you understand that, Sexyy Red's rise starts looking a lot less organic and a lot more like
We
a
know
calculated
she a lot of
extension
motherfuckers
of
the
that
industry
mission.
plants, nigga.
Now alongside
Yeah,
Larry
we know
Jackson, we also have Ike Yusuf, Gamma's
they be
president.
controlled,
Now
man.
Ike previously worked at Interscope Records as a CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and he holds degrees in business, economics, and accounting. So his background is strictly corporate, not creative. Together, these two essentially built Gamma to be a hybrid between a label and a media powerhouse. And Sexyy Red quickly became one of their biggest test cases, the face of a very calculated experiment that combined viral marketing, controversy, and cultural packaging under the banner of representation. But here's where things get interesting. The largest investor in Gamma isn't someone from the culture at all. It's Todd Boehly, a 52-year-old American businessman of German heritage who's worth over $8 billion.
That's
So
crazy.
now it actually starts to make sense where they got that initial billion from, right? So the main investor behind a company that claims to focus on black culture is a white billionaire who also happens to co-own Los Angeles Dodgers and Chelsea Football Club. And, that's kind of where the dots start to connect. Because one of the biggest questions people had when Sexyy Red started popping up everywhere was how? Like, how is all this possible? How does someone with that kind of image suddenly get this massive push from every direction? Well, now it should make sense to you. When you realize that the machine behind Sexyy Red included a billionaire investor worth nearly $9 billion, a major media company with deep Apple Music ties, and a label infrastructure designed to amplify controversy, it starts painting a very clear picture. And this is something Candace Owens actually spoke about some time back as well.
Gamma has a lot of power. I'll tell you why Gamma has a lot of power. Because the two individuals that started Gamma, one of them came out of Apple. His name is Larry Jackson. And the second one of them came from Interscope Records. He has a ton of clout in
That's
the
why I was
record
telling y'all
community,
niggas,
the
nothing
music
by
community
accident.
industry, so to
When niggas
speak.
blow up,
And
that shit
his
not by
name
accident.
is Ike Yusuf. Larry Jackson, who
The
I
niggas
mentioned
sign the industry
before,
deals.
is black. And he is the
It's
person
not by
that I am
accident.
more interested in.
For anyone who doesn't recognize the face or name, Candace Owens is an American political commentator and author, and a self-labeled conservative activist. Now, she's covered a lot of these same connections, pointing out how the entertainment industry profits off of promoting chaos, dysfunction, and over-sexualization, especially when it comes to black artists.
Whataburger Buffalo.
Interestingly enough, this connects to something rapper Ice Cube talked about on Bill Maher's podcast. Ice Cube spoke about the same kind of manipulation, which is what he called social engineering, where record labels act like gatekeepers, and he said that they essentially don't tell artists exactly what to say, but they make sure that the most destructive messages are the ones that get pushed to the top.
The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics.
It's the money.
It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs
Man,
don't.
they trying to get
And this is
the
an
best
idea we've
money
explored conversationally over
but
time, so
the
it's
best
nothing new, right?
social
Now, Ice
move.
Cube was essentially saying, if you follow the money, you'll start noticing how the same people who own major record labels also have ownership stakes in private prisons. Now, that's another conversation I'll explore in depth in another video. Whether you believe what Ice Cube said or not, the underlying message underneath is very clear. The industry profits off of chaos, dysfunction, and division. And when you look at what gets the biggest push, the artists who glorify violence, crime, or hypersexuality, it starts to make a lot of sense, right? And this is how a lot of these experiments start. Now, for Sexyy Red, I think they decided to push the boundaries even further, especially when it comes to the raunchiness and shock value.
But you gotta be
Because here's the
remember,
thing,
some of this
we live
shit
in a
can't be
time
organic.
where, let's just say that people are
Because it is
extremely
some people who like that
desensitized in
raunchy
all
ass
types of
shit.
ways.
You know what I'm
Nothing
saying?
surprises anyone anymore. So to grab everybody's attention, like to grab the attention of the public, you almost have to go to the extreme. You have to be louder, you have to be wilder, you have to be more provocative than the last person, or you'll get
But
drowned
we
out
gotta,
in the
we
noise.
gotta
And Sexyy
also do
Red
the
became the
community.
perfect vessel for
The
that
community
strategy.
like this
Because
shit.
one thing about the public is that we react to extremes. If you show us something
You
that
know what I'm
feels
saying?
outrageous,
Yeah,
controversial,
you can say they
or
pushing this
wild
shit and it's
enough,
an industry
it
plant
grabs our
shit.
attention instantly.
But when
And
the
in an
fans
experiment
like
where
it and
attention
it's just
equals
like
profit,
what they
the
bumping
industry
to,
keeps testing how far they can go. They take these sample sizes of artists, amplify the most polarizing ones, and study what happens next, how people react, how the internet responds, how the controversy spreads. If it goes viral, they double down on that formula. If it doesn't, they move on to the next artist. That's exactly what we've seen happen in this case right here. Sexyy Red was a test subject for how far they could stretch the public's tolerance for dysfunction, for explicitness, for chaos, all while disguising it as authenticity. Now, what's happening right now
on
with
some
Sexyy
low-key
Red, though,
genuine
because
shit,
she's
nigga.
obviously not getting
Low
the same
genuine.
marketing push
Hey,
that she was.
I
Before we even get to
fuck
Sexyy
with the
Red, we
music
gotta look at what's been
because
happening
it got
in
the
rap
females,
overall.
hey,
Now, a few days
shaking
ago, we
that
talked
ass.
about that Billboard
You
report,
dig what I'm
the
saying?
one showing
Yeah.
that for the first time since the 90s, there wasn't a single rap song in the Hot 100's top 40. Rap's market share has been slipping for years. This is something a lot of people know, right? Labels aren't investing in hip-hop like they used to, and a lot of the newer sounds just aren't connecting with the public anymore. Meanwhile, country, Latin, Afrobeats, and pop are dominating. So the
They
industry
kill
has shifted
everybody.
towards safe artists with guaranteed
You gotta
returns,
understand.
meaning the machine
This
has
shit, they
been,
try to take
pulling
niggas
back
out
on rappers
and
across the
put
board, not just Sexyy
insurance
Red.
plans on
Now, for
niggas.
Sexyy
You know what
Red,
I'm saying?
she's undoubtedly an artist who's fueled by antics, and an artist in that
They
category
trying to make this shit
usually
like
gets
fast
a
food.
huge
You
marketing
know what I'm
push during that
saying?
initial discovery phase, where the label throws everything at them to create momentum, and it works at first. It always does. But later on, things start to slow down because antics have an expiration date. That's just how it is.
If it's on the
There's
organic
also a
shit
growing
and
level of
some,
fatigue towards these characters who get pushed nonstop, not just in the music industry, but just in social media in general.
Yeah.
And the reason for this fatigue, in my opinion, is because people today are way more conscious, way more self-aware, way more spiritually
Niggas woke.
tuned in than they were in the past. Because here's the thing, I'm sure you know this, right? We're living in a time where there's so many things that are attacking our attention, our energy, and our peace. So people can feel when something is forced and when something is spiritually empty. Sexyy Red went through that period where she was being prioritized, where the machine was fully behind her, pushing her into every corner of the culture and industry. But things are a little different
and then
now.
we don't even know if
Just a
she,
year
if
and
she
some
really
change
even
later,
wrote her
that
bars.
momentum isn't the same. The push isn't the same, and the public isn't reacting the same way
And some of these
they
music,
did before. And once
they
the
be using
intensity
the
of the
same
reactions start to fade,
music
what incentive
for
does
like
the industry have to
5,
keep
10
pushing you and
years.
investing all this money
They got
into
the
you?
same
None.
song they
And
done
there's
wrote
also something to be said about the
5, 10 years
demographic
ago.
that Sexyy Red was being marketed
They don't
towards,
know how to
which
write
was primarily
anything
black
new.
women. And based on the
They bank it
responses
all on
I've
that
seen
one song.
online, a lot of those same women who were initially hyped about her are starting to wake up to what's really going on. Not in a judgmental way, but in a self-awareness kind of way. Because once something reaches a certain level of exaggeration or dysfunction or straight up cartoonish behavior, people eventually recognize it for what it is. Now, personally, I think that all those black women should have realized, when she made those 4C hair comments, that's what we call internalized hatred, okay?
Yeah.
And so I think that should have been the
Self-hatred,
moment where they woke up and they realized, like, damn, she's straight up mocking herself and she's mocking us, right? Now, on top of that, we
Here's
also
what
know that
happens.
Sexyy Red's rise was built
When these
almost
black people get
entirely
money
on
on
hype.
nigga,
And when something
they
is
be
built on
racist to
hype,
their own
it
people.
fades the moment people take a
You
step
know
back
what
and
I'm saying?
actually look at what they're consuming. When you
But
change
Jim
the way you
Crow.
look at things, the things you're looking at actually start to change. And that's kind of when people start to see through the hype
They
and the
treat
facade.
other
I
race
think that's what
better
happened
than
with
they
Sexyy
treat their
Red.
own people.
I also don't think
You
that
know what
people
I'm
are
saying?
as quick to play this kind of music
When
around
it's a
their
black
children
person,
anymore,
they try to take a nigga
especially after
out.
everything
Use
people
a
have seen
nigga
from
up.
Sexyy
You know
Red.
what I'm saying?
But
But
also
like if
too,
it's somebody
considering everything
different,
that's happening in the world
they
right
try
now.
to
Because
create
the
a
truth
committed
is, there's a
relationship.
lot of forces operating through social media today, pushing certain ideas, certain behaviors, and planting certain messages in the minds of the youth. Not in some kind of like
But
conspiracy
it
way,
goes
but
on
I'm
both
saying
sides,
in
the
a
black man
very
and the black woman. They
algorithm
both be
slash
self-hating.
attention type of way. The stuff that spreads the fastest is usually the stuff that's loudest, wildest, and most chaotic, and most dysfunctional. And when that becomes the dominant influence in certain spaces, parents and young people themselves
They only respect
start
somebody
paying
who got more
attention.
money on
And
than
once you
them.
recognize the pattern, once you see the intention behind the marketing, you start realizing this isn't something you want influencing the next generation. And that shift right there matters. Because when the core audience becomes more intentional, more protective, and more aware, the entire foundation of that experiment starts to fall apart. Now look, I think Sexyy Red is going
That's
to
why I be trying
continue
to tell
being
you, they be
successful
wanting
to
niggas
some
who
extent
zombies,
because she's got a
robots, who
fan
sleep
base,
to the
she's
game,
got
nigga.
visibility, and
They
she's
can
built a
control these
name for
niggas.
herself. But at this point,
When you
it's
wake up
obvious that the experiment
knowing that this
isn't
is
hitting
a
the way it
capitalism,
used to. But what the hell do I know? You tell me. Has the experiment failed or not? If you made it this far,
I
drop a
think
like
it
on
was a
this video.
success.
Clearly, you
Look, she's still up.
clearly, you
I think it was a
obviously enjoyed this
success.
video, okay? I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say
To
about
be
this entire
honest, but like,
conversation around
I
Sexyy
don't like
Red.
if she
You
blew
guys let me
up
know in the
like on
comment
some
section
like
below, and I'll catch you guys
generational
on
shit.
the
I don't know
next
about that.
video. Peace. I'm out.
Shout out to Get Like Prince. Why everyone hates Sexyy Red? I mean, I don't hate Sexyy Red. I feel like she's a young black female who pushing up and repping the black community for the females. But I feel like, is there a lot of cooning and buffooning? Yes.
Over the past few years, Sexyy Red has become one of the biggest talking points in hip-hop. And for the most part, not in a good way. She got this real big negative narrative surrounding her name, and she is the one person to blame for it. And that's because she came into the game, and instead of basing her career around the music, she really based herself around antics and gimmicks. Now, it wasn't 6ix9ine type gimmicks, but her gimmick was being overly freaked out, controversially freaked out. And
Yeah.
She released this whole line of lip gloss with some of the craziest names you could think of.
I love lip gloss, and it makes me feel like a baddie when I put it on.
But a lot of these niggas be undercover freaks.
Make everybody else feel cute.
You know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers be freaky as hell. They like this shit. Freaky ass niggas.
Flavor is coochie juice. I have a brown flavor that's like, it's called brown booty hole. I got a white kind that look like nut on your lips. I got a pink kind called pink. I got a yellow kind with yellow glitter and gold glitter called yellow discharge. I got a green one for gonorrhea. It's called gonorrhea's green. It's cute.
So my point is, Sexyy Red done caused so much controversy, so much to the point where it's affecting her. She realized that she has become this hated figure in the music space.
You hear or do you see the hate too?
Yeah.
You see the comments?
I see
Do you
everything.
seem like they're getting bigger or smaller though?
I think they getting bigger.
Really? Well, you know what? The bigger you are, the bigger the target too.
Exactly.
Yeah, the bigger.
It's like, I feel like, I ain't gonna fake it. I said this though. I feel like I'm the most hated female rapper. Like, they hate on me the most. I get a lot of love, but I know when they be hating on me. They be hating
I
on me.
do
It be
think
like,
she
look,
get
inside,
hate, but I think
they hating on me.
But
They
she
trying
do
to
it
put
on
me
purpose.
down. Like, I be feeling like, is y'all sending like people to comment under her? Like, y'all trying to put, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like it's some hidden agendas, and I know.
Do you feel like that's straight from like spectators, or do you feel like that's somebody in
It
the
could be
business?
labels.
Oh, gotcha.
I just be feeling like motherfuckers trying to bring me, like, they don't like seeing me win.
Yeah.
that's
And
a
I be
fact
seeing people
on
say that in
every
the comments,
situation
like,
for
why
black
y'all hate
for the
her
black
so much?
community.
What does she do to y'all? She just be chilling.
And I mean, the hate Sexyy Red was getting was so strong that other artists will come out
Like
support
when
her.
she did that
Even
song
Lee
with
Chopper, out of
Drake.
all people, would get on Twitter a couple years back and say this: "Man, I keep seeing the hate that y'all got on my girl Sexyy Red. I'm a real supporter, a real fan. I love her energy and the music. But y'all gotta stop doing people like that, treating people like that. Y'all not gonna always hear something that you accustomed to or that you used to. Y'all need people like Sexyy Red to create a balance from, the serious music to stuff that you can just have fun with. Why our own community gotta tear down our own people? Why can't we embrace her? Why can't we understand her music the same way that we'll understand somebody else's music?" Sexyy Red really is this shock value machine, but was also someone who took over the female rap for a period of time. I know y'all remember that phase where women were at the forefront of rap for a little bit. Now we gotta go back a year or two, and you can't really deny the point that I'm making. I mean, just look through the internet. Look at how many videos and posts and interviews were there just deep diving and respecting the fact that all of these women were carrying hip hop for a little bit.
Ladies are, in my opinion, all the big hit records are.
Yeah, women.
They're the only women who are making, like, I feel like the women are actually putting effort into quote unquote records.
Yep.
And I mean the last time I remember it being like this female dominated, or at least so many options out there, was like when it was Eve, the Brat, Little Kim, Foxy Brown, like. But I feel like it's even bigger than that now.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Like, do you feel like we're kind of like in the middle of like a special moment when it comes to just females running hip hop?
I do.
And before I keep going on, make sure you
I
join
think
the Discord.
because it's a lot of
Link will
niggas
be in the pinned
dying.
comment. I'm trying to grow my Discord.
You know what I'm
If you want
saying?
to come through, talk to me, drop some video ideas, anything like that, go ahead, press that link. Point is, during that time period where we had Lotto, Megan, Glorilla, all these new females, coming up in hip hop, we had Sexyy Red coming along right with them. But like I said, she came with the antics. She knew how to clip farm without really clip farm. And what I mean by this is she was real simple similar to Blueface. You know Blueface can just create a moment. He knows how to get online and create attention out of anything. Sexyy Red was kind of on that same time. She came out and she knew how to make a moment. She knew how to get some attention on the internet. And a prime example of this, of her creating a moment, was back when a tape leaked to her. Now I gotta watch how I say this because we are on YouTube, but you get what I'm saying. It was a tape of her getting cracked on camera. And this went overly viral because, I mean, think about what I just said. It's a tape. So this vid gets dropped on her IG, and it's viral, and everybody's questioning her, like, why did you do this? Are you really that clout hungry that you dropped the tape of yourself online? And she responded on some, look, this isn't intentional. This ain't what I was trying to do. I didn't try to get some clicks. I didn't try to get some attention. This was an accident. They say will write this. Sexyy Red addressed how her tape got leaked on social media. She denied that she purposely leaked the video. However, the clip was uploaded to Instagram by accident. She would say this, I don't know, bro. I was mad. It was in the moment. And then I set the phone down, but I ain't the one that did it. And it accidentally got posted. Then she would apologize on Twitter and say this, I'm so heartbroken. Anybody that know me knows I wouldn't do no goofy stuff like that. If you're wondering how it gets to her story, it looked like the guy was recording from her phone. Maybe her phone was open. She recorded from her phone and probably just posted to her story. Okay? And here's the thing. And I'm going to be honest with you. I feel bad for Sexyy Red. And I know some people feel like that stance is simping, but I don't hate Sexyy Red like how some other people hate Sexyy Red. I was on Gossip in the City, and I even commented. Because you know who hates Sexyy Red the most is women. A lot of women hate her.
Yeah.
And I asked, I said, why do y'all hate her? And a lot of them are saying she's a bad representation for females, etc. And I just disagree. And I'm going to tell you why I disagree. To me, Sexyy Red is no different than Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, Lotto, and the other girls.
That's what I'm saying.
Not because she's a little bit more extreme. It's like, yeah, King Von might have been more graphic, but don't these other rap about murder? Again, you can't praise hoe behavior from Nicki and Cardi, and then when some chick that maybe you don't find her attractive or whatever the case is, when she comes out and she says she's a raw dog queen, well, you had, like, these other women are saying the same thing. You had Lil' Kim who said she could make a Sprite can disappear down her throat. When you support whore music, you're going to get a Sexyy Red. Don't make her the outcast. If you think her music is the problem, it's not only her music. You know where it starts? It starts from the city girls. It starts from the shit that gets promoted in Cardi B's music. It starts from Nicki Minaj's music. You're just always gonna get to the biggest extreme of this. Everybody, and it was so ironic and it's so hypocritical of all these women. You're hyping up whore music, then you're mad when a woman embraces flat out whore behavior because you don't think she's
I just talking about the fake shit.
Gimme pick waiting, so
Like, if you gonna be a whore, bitch. You know what I'm saying? You talking all this tough shit, like you gonna be really doing what you gonna do.
How she got chlamydia. It was a crazy story. She would get on the interview and somehow this story would get brought up.
Some of these females, man, just be talking game that not really be doing nothing.
One day they separated. Then they came back, and when they came back and started messing around again, she said she was stinking so bad to the point where she had to go to the doctor.
That's kind of crazy. Sexyy Red out your wallet.
She had chlamydia. This is what she said.
Sexyy Red out your wallet. No, she was getting cracked.
I had chlamydia before twice.
Sexyy Red was getting cracked.
We was together. We broke up because he was cheating on me. Then I went and did me. He did him. We missed each other, came back together, but something wasn't right. We both was like, what is that smell? And we went to the doctor, and it turns out we both had chlamydia. We still don't know who did it. Which is a crazy-ass story to tell. No way you just got online and said, me and my nigga was stinking so bad, we knew something was wrong. You could have kept that. You could have kept that in the brain. But my point is, she knew how to create moments. She knew what to talk about and get attention all the time. And that kind of leads us right to the lip gloss situation I spoke about before, where she came out and she dropped this brand, this line of lip gloss, where everything was just freaked out with all them crazy-ass names. And I remember back when this first came out, when she first announced this, it was viral everywhere because this was really real. Like, she got online and she was like, yeah, I'm dropping lip gloss with these names. Some people thought it was a joke. People was probably thinking, oh, this album promo or some dumb shit. No, this is really something she sells online. You could pull your card out, go to her website, and buy this right now if you wanted to. I mean, look at the website. They really got them lip glosses on there. But
I see nothing wrong with that.
What about the music? See, over these past few years, y'all done heard all of this hip-hop is dead conversation, all the negative conversations surrounding hip-hop. Well, Sexyy Red was just right there, and she had her own little pocket on the female side of rap. You know, she'd get on here, she'd make this overly freaked out music, and she just slide it in with the rest of these other freaked out artists. So for her to blow up, it wasn't really random. It wasn't really something expected. It wasn't really an anomaly. She just knew to rap about in a way that had people turn up, that had the clubs turn, and she had a personality to go along with it. It was music that wasn't really filled with substance. It was feel-good music for the woman specifically. And that ain't necessarily a bad thing, because some music is just there to make you feel good, and some music is there to make you really understand something. And recently throughout hip-hop, I feel like a big conversation is a lack of substance, or just a lack of people really talking about meaningful things in music. And I think people get a little too lost on this.
It's like niggas just be like just yapping, not really trying to bring no message around, do nothing.
Just be enjoyed how you want
just
it
waste
to
niggas'
be enjoyed.
time, you know?
Because think about it. Sometimes you do want to sit there and you do want to, you know, hear some music that make you think, that make you feel something. But then other times, you just trying to chill, you just trying to vibe. Nigga, you with the bros, you trying to turn on some hot shit for y'all can turn up to. So not everything has to be this overly substance-filled music. And it doesn't mean it's bad music.
It's just party music.
I can make a whole video really digging into that point if y'all want me to. But Sexyy Red will come out. She
But I feel like if you ain't got no substance to your music and all you talking about is bullshit, it's like, nigga, what? Like, bro, what we talking about?
Personality on top of everything. Everybody in the industry was liking her, including Drake, the one and only. These two got real close, and they would drop a lot of music together. They was always being seen together, and they got some big-ass songs together. Go back to For All the Dogs. Go back to Sexyy Red last project. Her and Drake, they got music together. But with her building up this fan base and dropping this music, a thing came up. Something we see with a lot of other artists that make similar music to her. Ice Spice, for example. These are singles artists. This isn't an artist where you really sit down with your headphones on and listen to their albums. Sexyy Red isn't that. Sexyy Red is one of them people where she drop a single, people like it, and that's it. You don't go to Sexyy Red for an album. You don't go to Sexyy Red for her catalog. You go to Sexyy Red to turn up. So when time came for her to drop this next album, people had this narrative in their brains like, okay, this album probably ain't gonna be the best.
I don't know why they thought Sexyy Red was gonna be out here really teaching the truth to niggas. Bitch, her name is Sexyy Red, bitch.
I just think it's one of the more, again, repetitive tracks here. It's just kind of okay. But overall, I like
this. How about taking dick?
It's okay. Like, some of my favorite Sexyy
how y'all think that shit gonna like be on some shit? Y'all shouldn't do what she was on.
Even some of the worst moments, like the one with Drake, while I wasn't enjoying it, I could at least kind of like laugh at it and catch on to the humor Sexyy Red is intentionally working into the track. I do appreciate her going for a very kind of wild, messy, chaotic, early 2010s style mixtape on that one, but with heading in that territory, of course, also there are some tracks that are just like too messy, too sloppy, just too half-baked. And for me, really the biggest Achilles heel of the album is that the final run of tracks, like the last handful of songs on the record, just don't hit nearly as hard as the songs that land around the midpoint, kick the project off. It really does kind of lose steam after a bit.
Even Jermaine Dupri had thoughts on this album back when it first came out. How knew hip-hop will write this?
Planet Fitness for $1.
Appearing at United Masters SelectCon conference in Atlanta over the weekend, he would speak on Sexyy Red and say this: the industry still tries to make you believe that if you a hot artist and you got a single that's selling albums, don't matter. Academics posted today about Sexyy Red album only doing 28,000 copies first week. In the era that I come from, in the music industry, if you sold 28,000 copies first week, you didn't get no other chance to walk in a building again. Niggas was not talking to you if you sold 28,000 copies first week. It's such a disconnect between people understanding the streaming situation and then what you actually looking at. I came from an era where numbers were 80,000, 100,000, 200, 800, 900,000 copies. So this feels so backwards. But that don't mean her career is necessarily going.
And y'all gotta think about it. She got a label behind her. She got a label. She got a label. She got production behind her. She got like money on behind her.
Last year, and this feature they did together was really big.
She didn't just step on this bitch and just like, I did it by myself. She had a whole fucking community. Label, bitch. The big money on. Bitch, you had Drake.
Sexyy Red, Tyler Creator, Glorilla, all done got nominated for a Grammy. The headlines came out that Sexyy Red got nominated for a Grammy. It wasn't framed as Tyler Creator, Sexyy Red, Glorilla, Lil Wayne got nominated. It was Sexyy Red got nominated for this Grammy. So people immediately started hate comedy, throwing a lot of hate her way simply off getting nominated for this Grammy. Niggas was like, how Sexyy Red win a Grammy over so-and-so, or the Grammys is a joke now.
That's fucked.
Giving anybody Grammys, which is a crazy thing, and it's something
they really don't have to see the black community win, though. Let's talk about it.
Artists will get nominated for an award and then get hate because they got nominated for the award. That shit just don't make sense to me. But what are y'all thoughts? How do y'all feel about Sexyy Red being able to potentially win a Grammy this year?
That's lit.
So Sexyy Red has become this hated artist, but why? Kind of goes back to the Academics clip I played earlier. She came into music making this overly freaked out music, and her music was so big and so impactful. It's affected all sides of listeners, from grown adults to kids to people in elementary school to middle school. Everybody hearing Sexyy Red music,
like that dude, like that.
And a lot of people are feeling like she's the biggest problem ever, and that she's single-handedly ruining the youth. So all this hate is directed toward her.
What makes Sexyy Red different from like what Lil' Kim was doing? Yeah, you know what the difference is? Hip hop has gotten older. You have OGs in hip hop now. So for every Sexyy Red that's in her 20s, you got somebody that's in their 40s or maybe their 50s who's been there, done that. And the role of OGs in the culture should be the role of OGs in life, which is we're here to mentor you.
And sometimes OG be fucking up the game, man. Cause y'all be thinking that like you feel like we owe y'all something, or like not even owe y'all something, like, bro, like we supposed to just like, you feel me?
And the reason why
like, nigga, if y'all didn't have OGs, why the fuck, you know what I'm saying? We want to be like, you feel me?
That they'll sacrifice their knowledge that they've attained by living life for 30 plus years more than these younger artists, and they'll sacrifice that, or they'll sacrifice their integrity, and they'll employ something called willful ignorance. Older people in the culture, these older executives, artists who know better, still choose to glorify things that they know are harmful, right? And they know it's harmful, but they're like, dang, that's what the youngins want to hear.
Black women like Sexyy Red keep black women at the bottom. Why is Sexyy Red fighting so hard to be a dirty, disgusting woman? The way that she's branding herself, and this is the way that she's branding herself, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like you're sitting there planning how I can be more disgusting than anybody else. Now, I knew that her lip gloss names that had been released sometime last year, she talked about them. I honestly thought it was just an
I be thinking these hoes be too damn bougie.
Like, it's no way.
You know what I'm saying?
But
these hoes be bougie as fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Gonorrhea, women who struggle with STIs, like.
But that shit is kind of crazy though. That STD shit.
The name of your lip gloss.
The nigga's human, bitch.
It doesn't get any more filthy. Like, man, we are at the bottom, and that's just what it is. She's keeping us at the bottom, fighting to be at the bottom.
Nah, y'all keep your own stuff at the bottom, bitch. Bitch, y'all almost had a woman president. You know what I'm saying?
Which I don't think is fair, because so many different
people, you know, man, people done fucked up the game.
Just as bad as her. Men and
worse.
Women. Yeah, Sexyy Red get the most hate,
bitch,
when it comes to it.
Ice Spice don't say a goddamn peep. All she do, now that bitch, all she do is shake ass professionally. I think because she's super light skinned, they don't talk about her like that. But they was talking mad crazy shit about her.
Y'all gotta hate everybody else just as much. You can't just pick her out the crowd and just throw all this hate her way.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of hoes out here fucking the game up. Look at Megan Thee Stallion fucking the game up.
Like, y'all could be mad, but be mad at everybody.
Yeah.
Don't just nitpick. And I feel like it's not necessarily just her.
Bitch, y'all must have a woman president.
I know her labels in her ear telling her, look, we know this makes money. This gets attention. This makes people want to pay attention to you. So you're going to get on here, you're going to talk this bullshit, you're going to promote whatever we ask you to, because that's just how labels work. Even if she don't want to, they will make you promote some bullshit. That's just how it works. Labels will do whatever they can for any kind of paycheck. It don't matter the impact. It don't matter the repercussions. They want money.
You think the white community not doing the same thing as industry
confidence is. But 2025 has come around, and her career and the talk around her name has slowed down a lot, especially when compared to other times throughout her career. She hasn't really dropped a lot of music this year, other than in January, where she would drop that one freaky ass song with Bruno Mars. But other than that, we ain't got a lot when it came to her. Just a couple singles here and there. And then on top of all of that, she ain't been clip farming like she used to. She really just been chilling. But just because she was chilling don't mean the talk around her name was. At one point, she would get in this weird little situation with Ray J, where he was doing exactly what I just said. That nigga was the one clip farming. He randomly got on stream one day, and we were speaking on Sexyy Red.
Yeah, he know how to do it.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, I like her music, or maybe, oh, I don't like her music. No, he was on there basically lying on his dick. He talking about, I cracked Sexyy Red when he did not do that. So after the fact,
we don't know still.
He be like, nigga, why'd you lying on me like this? Like, we ain't do nothing. And he would get so much backlash and so much controversy that he would get online and have to apologize for.
Nigga, they said that he was fucking Christian Rock.
I learned my lesson, bro. And I apologize, Sexy. I didn't know. I don't know you like that, and I shouldn't have played with your name. I was out of line. I'm trying to figure out, like, I was out of line. I feel terrible, bro. You don't. I don't never apologize, bro.
But even though 2025 been a little slow for Sexyy Red, they don't mean her career's dying. They don't necessarily mean her career's in a bad spot. But who knows what else there is to come with her in her music. Because if she wanted to, she could get online and go viral. But she's choosing not to. And it could have something to do with some of the hate she gets, but it also couldn't. But I feel like this hate should be like a learning experience for her, because some of it is deserved. Some of it she should look and she'd be like, you know what, this is constructive criticism. Let me listen to this a little bit and take something out of it. But then other times, some of the hate ain't really valid. Ain't no real thought put behind it. It's just people hating the hate like everybody does on the internet. But what do y'all think? How do y'all feel about Sexyy Red? Is she as bad for the youth and as bad for hip hop as everybody else makes it seem?
I think the whole fucking, I think everything is, man, everything's fucked. J Diggs music, the 5 levels of industry plant. Let's get straight through it.
Every time an artist blows up overnight, the internet does what the internet does best. The term industry plant gets thrown around so much now that, I mean, it's hard to even know what it means anymore. See, there's levels to this. And let's start with the ones who had it best. The organic.
Step on the glass, staple your tongue.
These are the artists who still need you to believe that they started from nothing. The story has to feel real. The struggle, the discovery, the breakthrough, the indie darlings who got lucky with a viral moment. But if you look closer, their bedroom is in $1 million house that their parents own, or that viral moment was coordinated by PR agents and label executives. They keep the aesthetics of DIY, but behind the scenes, there was professional management going on the whole time, even before you knew their name. Artists like Billie Eilish.
I've wanted to do this like my whole life, so I'm a little shaky.
Now, she's talented, but the whole "we recorded Ocean Eyes in my brother's bedroom" thing, that's not the whole story. What they don't mention is Phineas was already working in the music industry. Their mom was an actress, their dad was in bands, they grew up in LA, already around the entertainment industry. Billie was even homeschooled specifically so she could pursue music.
You grew up homeschooled.
Yeah.
Did that shape who you are and who you will be? Because
And by the time Ocean Eyes dropped, Phineas had already written and produced for other artists. He had a manager, he understood how the machine worked. Interscope didn't just stumble on him on SoundCloud. The setup was already there. See, there was this guy named Danny Rukerson who became her manager. And Danny was business partners with Brandon Goodman. And Brandon managed Fall Out Boy. So Billie already had deep industry connections from the start. See, the organic plant, they're the smartest plays because they keep the indie credibility while having major label resources. They play it cool. That's not the case with level 2. The obvious. These are the artists who don't exist one day, and then the next day they're on every playlist. The push is so aggressive that even casual listeners notice that something's a little off. You see them on festival lineups before they have a fan base, getting late night TV slots before they have a catalog, collaborating with A-listers on their second single. The machine gives them all the signs of success before they've even earned it. They'll have 50 million streams, but you never heard anybody play their music in real life. They're trending on X, but nobody's actually talking about them. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. They're betting that if they push hard enough and fast enough, eventually fans will follow. Most of the time it doesn't work, or it only works temporarily. But when it does work, it works fast. Now, she's cliche to talk about at this point, but the artist most people talk about in this category has to be Ice Spice.
Once again, Ice Spice.
She went from unknown to featuring with major artists in a few months. Munch dropped in August of 2022, and by October, she was already being called the Princess of Rap. And then she was at the Met Gala by May. Also, her music video blew up on World Star Hip Hop, and I can tell you, being in the music industry myself, World Star charges big money to feature you. But if you look even closer than that, her label 10K Projects is run by Elliot Grange. And Elliot is the son of Lucian Grange, who runs Universal Music Group. So it's not just the money, it's also the access and every door being open for you at the same time. Another one is Kid Leroy.
Go. She always be talking like she no.
Now, he's a controversial one because there's signs of him being an industry plant, but his upbringing and his start in the music industry is pretty highly debated. It's hard to really know for sure. First off, his dad was a music producer and sound engineer. and his mom was a talent manager. And after some digging, I found out that she started a management company called Mama Capone Management to help Kid Leroy and the people he was working with get on the map. And it goes a little bit deeper because the claim is that he grew up in poverty in the ghettos of Australia, but some of these early photos I found would say otherwise. And of course, I wasn't there, so we still can't say for sure. But between the Juice WRLD features and the Justin Bieber collabs, it felt like he was being marketed as the next global superstar out of nowhere. And the most recent person people like to throw in this category is Doechii.
Anxiety, can shake it off of me.
Worry, Shaq. The general.
Anxiety, can shake it off of me.
Now, when you factor in her versatility and her stage presence, I think it's hard to say that she's not talented or doesn't deserve recognition. But everything was just so aggressive with her rise that people were calling her a plant before giving her a chance. So she signed to TDE, Kendrick's label. They're an independent label, but they got ties with the big three record companies, Sony, Universal, and Warner. She basically went from up-and-coming artist to winning a Grammy for Best Rap Album overnight. And her rise seems legit when you first look into it, because at one point, she just seemed like your average YouTuber that was on the come-up. But it's pretty clear that she's had some big label backing before we all knew who she was. It's one thing to develop an artist's talents and skills, but it's another thing to spend major label money on plays and views. But what happens when an artist presents themselves as not having any money and no family and being 16 in the middle of Miami? Amethyst Amelia Kelly, aka Iggy Azalea.
First things first, I'm the realest. Drop this and let the whole world feel it.
A white girl from Australia, but you would never know that from listening to her fake urban southern accent.
Better check my tax bracket. What you think was gonna happen? Nagging, now he's leaving, and y'all broke up like madmen.
Man, she knew she was going
She
that bitch.
became obsessed with southern hip hop. And during that time, it was so different and unexpected, T.I. couldn't help but roll out the red carpet for her. I mean, he signed her, and they basically constructed an entire persona. They got her on big interviews, featured with major artists like Charlie XCX, and the machine took off from there. At first, everybody embraced her, even the black community. She was invited to the cookout, as we like to say. But as time went on and racial tension started to flare back up in America, she got caught up in the culture vulture conversations. And once the culture rejected her, the machine couldn't save her. Some of it started with the feud between Iggy Azalea and Azalea Banks after Iggy won Best Rap Album at the Grammys.
You know what I mean? That Iggy Azalea shit is not better than any fucking black girl that's rapping today, you know? And when they give those awards out, because the Grammys are supposed to be like accolades for artistic excellence, you get what I mean? Iggy Azalea is not excellent.
The theys purchase things that they see themselves in, right? And businesses capitalize on that.
And that's fine. So put her in the pop category. Put her with Katy Perry, and they put her and Miley Cyrus in the same fucking box together.
Don't put her in hip-hop.
Don't put her in hip-hop.
But she's rapping over a beat, though.
But just because she's not singing does not mean it's rap music.
Ultimately, this all led up to Iggy Azalea quitting music and becoming an OF model and a crypto entrepreneur. I think she knew she couldn't keep it up, especially when hip-hop legends like Q-Tip started coming out and talking about it. But it goes to show when an industry plan is too obvious, especially when it's built around a gimmick, sometimes the downfall can be just as quick as the rise. The puppet. Now, the puppet is where it gets dark and where I might make some people mad. But these are the artists who became what the industry wanted them to be, and not necessarily what they wanted to be. Sabrina Carpenter and Katy Perry deserve honorable mentions here.
They like the
But
same
if you want to see a
person.
full inside look on their stories, I'll link my videos in the show notes. Both of them had mediocre to average success in music until the industry overlords got a hold of them and changed everything about them. Katy Perry was a gospel artist, and Sabrina was a wholesome Disney child star. Another artist a lot of people talk about in this category would be Tate McRae. Now, if there was ever a person literally bred to be a pop star, it's probably Tate. Tate has actually been famous since she was around 8 years old. Not for music, but she was internationally known as a dancer. Her mom owned a dance company and had Tate in training since she was around 6. Now, everything blew up for her after she posted a YouTube video of her singing an original song called One Day, which has blown up to over 40 million views.
I've understood that you will never be mine, and I That's fine.
Now, usually you wouldn't label this kind of rise as industry plant.
Industry plant shit.
Justin Bieber got the same kind of
It can
start
still
on
be industry
YouTube,
plant.
but her brand shift is where the water gets a little muddy. She had pretty good success as the bedroom singer-songwriter, but even pop fans got caught off guard by her sexy pop diva rebrand. But who we really got to talk about is Lady Gaga. Stephanie Germanotta was playing piano in New York dive bars in 2005. She was doing jazz standards and just wearing normal clothes. And then she got signed to Def Jam at 19, but she got dropped after 3 months. L.A. Reid, he literally signed her and forgot about her. He just wasn't that interested. He thought she was too normal and too boring, not that marketable. So after that, Gaga changed everything. She was ready to be what the industry wanted her to be. She started studying what worked, what got attention. She analyzed Madonna's career. She dumbed down her skills, simplified everything, and focused on one goal: fame. By 2007, she was a completely different person. She was go-go dancing, setting her hairspray on fire. She wasn't Stephanie anymore. She met her producer, Red One, and got hooked up with Akon, and they just went straight up synth pop. But the interesting thing is, she never really hid that she was just playing a character. But usually there's a consequence that comes with not being yourself.
I think people, real fans, probably knew deep down that there was something going on.
You know, letting go of who I was before, and I don't mean becoming, Lady Gaga and leaving that behind. That's not what I mean by that. What I mean is, my life is different now.
The whole Joanne era is where the cracks really started to show. She tried to strip down the sound and perform more as Stephanie than Lady Gaga. It was her trying to find herself again. But the public didn't want Stephanie. They wanted the monster. They wanted the spectacle, because that's what sells. But what if you could sell your music whether it was good or not? That's the case for level 4, the Nepo baby. These artists were industry before they were even artists. They grew up in recording studios. They had dinner with label executives, got babysat by other pop stars. They'll talk about their journey, their struggle, their grind, but they had access to producers, writers, studios, nannies. They could fail as much as they want and still get another shot. The Nepo baby has mommy and daddy to give them every opportunity they need. Failure is not possible. Nepo baby has mommy and daddy to give them every opportunity they need. Failure is not possible. Willow and Jada Smith were destined before they were even born. Willow dropped Whip My Hair at 10 years old on Rock Nation. And then she got to quit music because it was too much pressure. Then she got to come back whenever she felt like it. She could experiment with rock and indie, whatever sound she wanted because, failing had no consequence. Then you got Blue Ivy. Now, she did a good job voice acting on Mufasa, but should she really have a Grammy?
Blue, congratulations. You won a Grammy tonight. I'm so proud of you.
Your mom is Beyonce. It don't matter what should be. It just is. Now, the next Nepo baby might surprise some of you guys, but yes, Drake is a Nepo baby.
Drake?
The most talented one for sure, but if you don't believe me,
He came
I
out
think
the
it's time that
slums,
we
nigga, in them fucking Toronto streets, nigga.
So, his dad, Dennis Graham, was a drummer who worked
nigga.
with Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis was one of the pioneers for rock and roll. Then you got his uncle, Larry Graham, who was a singer himself, and he was a bass player for Sly and the Family Stone, one of the most famous funk groups of all time. And then you got his other uncle, Teenie Hodges, who was a songwriter and guitar player for Al Green. Drake was playing on Degrassi and making $50 grand a year when he was a teenager. When that ended, he had money and connections that could fund his own mixtapes. Now, started from the bottom is great branding, but the bottom was middle class with industry connections. But the most successful and possibly the saddest of them all is level 5, the super plant. The super plant is as close to a robot as you can get. They don't write their own music. They don't choose their image. They don't control their social media. They show up, perform the role they've been given, and then they just collect a percentage. Most of them started from childhood and have even been put through development programs. There's people that control what they eat, control what they say. They'll pretend to date somebody just because it's good for their image. Their whole life becomes content. And sadly, they're the ones that usually have the most trauma and depression and mental health issues. Britney Spears is probably the most tragic example of the super plant.
When Britney was on the Mickey Mouse Club, it was basically an all-star training camp. You had Christina Aguilera,
Like, it's
Justin
so funny
Timberlake,
because it's
Ryan
like
Gosling. They were all
set
kids
up to be
being
the
groomed
popular
for stardom.
people.
But when
They
Britney
don't even know
signed
what
with
the fuck
Jive Records when
popularity
she was 15,
means.
they created
They
the whole
set to be
package
like the
for her.
main person to
Britney
be
could
popular.
actually sing,
How can you
but they
be
were
that when
giving
you
her
don't know what the
baby
fuck
voice
it
pop
is?
songs. And then they even controlled her virginity because she wasn't a virgin, but they told her she had to tell the public that so she could stay pure.
I'm just wondering how you feel about all the constant speculation about your virginity, whether you are a virgin or not.
I really wish I would have never said anything to begin with, because I'm kind of stuck in this little place where people are always asking me. But, you know, that's just something that's part of growing up, and that's just something that we all have to deal with. So
they wanted to keep that young and innocent vibe, but at the same time, they were marketing her to be provocative. By the time she was in her prime, she had been in the industry so long that she was already starting to lose herself. She got married for 2 days. She beat up a car with an umbrella, shaved her head. The constant pressure of being one of the most famous people on the planet, I mean, it completely took over. The conservatorship made it even worse. She was unfit to control her own life, but fit enough to release
People don't
albums and
understand.
generate
People want that
millions of
famous
dollars.
success before
Then K-pop takes
niggas
us to
don't
a
know
whole
what
nother
famous
level.
success
They
is.
treat music
Niggas
like
ain't
it's an
went through the
Olympic
shit.
sport. They take
It's going in
12-year-olds
that
and they
shit.
call them trainees. They keep them in dorms and they make them practice 16 hours a day. They give them personality types.
Yeah.
And in the end, when the
You
company
supposed to be
can't
the
make
guy
a
who's
profit
supposed to
off
fuck
of
with
them
this girl
anymore,
because she the
they
popular girl.
disband the
But
group.
she don't know what the fuck
But the
popularity
Asian
is.
music
You
markets,
supposed to be the
what they
side
tend to
nigga,
do
the
is they
nigga who's
learn
supposed to be
from
on
the
the side of
American
this
music
bitch.
market of the
Like,
past, because this
how
goes
can you
all the way
make
back to NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys.
somebody your
Both of the
friend
groups were put
and this
together
and
by
that?
Lou
It
Pearlman.
makes no sense.
He was a music manager who
They have no
both of the groups
personality.
actually
You
ended
know
up
that
suing in
personality
the
who they
end.
are.
But he held
People.
auditions and he picked the members of the group, gave them the music, told them what words to sing. He even did a whole marketing campaign where he put the groups against each other. And the worst of it all, in the contracts, he put himself as one of the members of the group and was stealing money from them.
Damn.
But at the end of the day, the super plant pretty much has no control. Now, there's quite a few artists I didn't get a chance to talk about in the video. So let me know in the comments who you think is an industry plant that I didn't mention. And if you enjoyed this video, watch this one next for the full breakdown on Katy Perry, or watch this one for the full breakdown on Sabrina Carpenter.
Alright, back. See, that's the thing about being a celebrity, man. It's like you do what you want to do as far as your work and your craft. And it's like, I don't understand it. YouTube and these other platforms, they got things called bullying. And it's like, okay, if you say something about something, or a kid or something, that's bullying. But then people can say whatever the fuck they want to say. The fans, they do whatever the fuck they want to do. But when it comes to the person who's making the content speak on some shit we can't really speak on what we want to speak on, it just, I feel like, bro, sometimes the fans do be chasing these motherfucking artists out the paint. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta have thick skin, you know? I feel like she got this skin. I think she's still going. She got some concerts she been doing, Boosie and them. But overall, man, she might be an industry plant. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people might be industry plants because, like, the way the system is set up these days. But more power to who Sexyy Red is and the black women and the black men who put on for every day. We have to be chilling outside, big crip gang, that's our shit.
Hey, Dad, you know that when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. Even though this is instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.